Hello, we are very happy to have with us Konstantinos Aivaliotis, co-founder and director at Ethnofest in Athens Ethnographic Film Festival, also teaching visual anthropology, generally interested in the ethnographic cinema and documentary. In the past, you have been working for many years with the Athens International Film Festival and more recently as a director of promotion at the Greek Film Center, an organization which has also been involved in Thematic Project as a stakeholder participating in many events. So we are happy to have you with us.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
We know each other from previous courses I have taken at Faro, so we have been quite familiar through the courses and several initiatives around art and more specifically around cinema and theater.
Yeah, Faro is a place where we are organizing also events as Ethnofest, so it's a very creative place for us to meet people and to organize events.
I would call it a generally art-friendly hub, let's say, because also more recently it involves in other forms of art,
Yes.
ceramics and
Yes,
many
right.
things. And it has become a place of meeting creative people. So your field of action and expertise is quite rare. We don't get to hear it often. So I feel ethnographic cinema is quite a niche market, if we can call it a market, more of a field of expertise. But in terms of outcome, it can be much larger. What I mean actually is that it can be very narrow, very local in terms of what we see in an ethnographic film and ethnographic documentary. But at the same time, it can be very global in terms of the problems and situations and day-to-day life we see on ethnographic filmography. How did you come up to choose visual anthropology and what is this field actually?
Well, how long is the podcast?
Just a short.
Just a short answer. There are two things. The first one is the academic part, and the other is the actual filmmaking and cinematic part of our activities. What we tried to do back in 2010 is to combine these two fields, these two worlds, the two worlds that are often separated in our cultural life, in our cultural everyday life, I will say. And that was what we know, when we and I started to know about this part of the filmmaking and documentary. I used the plural we because what I do now in Ethnofest, I didn't do it myself, so I don't want to take the only credit for that. And there are some colleagues who happened to be more or less on the same time in London, the beginning of 2000, studying this field of that you called visual anthropology. It's a field of social anthropology. It's a sub field of social anthropology, who deals actually with the use of audiovisual means in social research. This is the typical description that we can...
The definition.
Definition that we can... It's easily understood, I think. It's easier to understand.
But it's deeper than that.
Yes, because they're actually... the one thing is to actually use the audiovisual to produce something new and something as an academic knowledge, or to study visual outcomes from a culture, paintings, urban drawings, or what.
It's not only about film; it's much wider.
Yeah, the visual. When we use visual or audiovisual, one part of it is to use audiovisual means like camera, create films during a process of social research, and then it becomes something autonomous as a film. And that's a difficult part. That's a part that it's debatable if it is scientific or not, or how can it be scientific or not. And then If it's not, why we talk about it, or if it is, how we can deal with that. In our case, what we try to do is to create a hub, to create a platform, to create a place where we can talk about that, but also we can see films produced in that during that process. It was a niche market. Market is not a very.
Let's not demonize the word.
No, I'm not talking about demonization of the word,
So,
but I don't know if
it
it is
is a market.
the description of, especially at that time, because we were very small and nobody understood. Because when we used the ethnographic word in our title, everybody who were coming to the festival thought that they are going to see films only about Amazonian forest, or about tribes in Africa, or foreign exotic
Something exotic,
yes,
far from us. Although
far
it's not
from
that.
us.
It's
That
our daily lives.
was the case till the 60s, or maybe before. Many things have changed a lot the last 40, 50 years, and that's what we're trying to do in Athens. For the first time, not for the first time, because there were some festivals before us that they were trying to include films like what we were trying.
But as sections, not as
Exactly.
a whole festival dedicated to this.
As a section, exactly. And also more known filmmakers, well-known filmmakers like Jean Roos, for example, or like from the past. We try to include immediately the work of the student studying visual anthropology, and their dissertation, instead of written essay, was a film. And the question of the starting point for us was where these films are going. What can we do about this film? Because that was our films as well, because we did it ourselves as well. And that was the initial point, to include past and present of the films, and past and present of this discussion. So what was visual anthropology in the past, and what is now? What's ethnographic film now, and what was in the past? And combine history and present, but not in the form of an academic, let's say, symposium a yearly, but in the form of the festival, for two reasons. Firstly, because we thought that it's more popular in a good way. I use the word, not in a, I don't want to, yeah, I don't think that this word is in a way a negative word. But also because I was feeling much balanced, let's say, in that word. I was working in film festival. I knew how they operate,
Yes,
and
you have the previous experience, so you know how you can. To me, actually, it's popular. It really is not a bad work, especially if you can, let's say, filter something like this, which can be a difficult subject, to the wider audience. So it's about going to a wider audience. It's not bad. It can be very good. It can be very productive, both for the filmmakers and researchers working on that niche, but also for the audience that can see another, let's say, see this kind of filmmaking as something new.
exactly, because what we are actually showing is documentaries. Is a films. Is not something totally different from where you if you go to another film festival and see a documentary. What is different is the process, the way of the subject is approached through from the filmmaker. There are films that are produced much longer than the usual time of the other films, because they are not professional filmmakers. The majority, anyway, the majority of the films that we are showing are not films made by professionals. So they take their time through the research and also about
They
the
are not
results.
funding so they are self-produced. So
or funded by the university, let's say. They are not very, the budgets are not very high.
They don't have a linear, let's say, time of production. It could be interrupted and so on.
So that was the story. It came from our need to answer to the question, our films that we produced during our studies, what we can do about them. And also because in Athens, back then at least, visual anthropology and ethnographic film was a bit unknown thing, unknown term.
But now it's not. I feel it's not, because my feeling is that Ethnofest is gaining more and more audience,
Yes.
a larger audience.
Surprisingly
It
enough.
has become quite a thing with discussions, workshops. So could you share a bit of what is going on in Ethnofest beyond the films which are shown to the audience?
From the first years, we tried to combine what I said, the academic, what we thought as an academic, and what we thought as a filming part of this process. So for us, the inclusion of master classes and seminars and talks through the process of filmmaking, but also about subjects which are known in social sciences, but being discussed within the festival environment, are more, if I can use the word, more open to what the people are going to say, away from the academic agony to deliver something specific.
Or to strict definitions.
Strict definition, exactly.
Follow the bibliography, more open discussion.
We explore at the same time this subject every year different, depending on our content of the films or our need or our thoughts, our ideas about what we should talk about.
And what is happening, I guess.
What's happening, exactly.
At the time.
Because we had, for example, two things that we tried to open the content of the festival to other communities, to other people, was first of all to include parallel events, not directly related to the festival. For example, we were part of an Erasmus Plus program, and it was not necessary to combine, but we thought that if we combine the days and the activities of the one part are close to the other dates, then we combine people and create a meeting point for people to see films, first of all, the other, and the others learn about the activities of this program.
That's a best practice for all projects, whether INTERREG or Horizon, Erasmus.
Exactly.
It's a best practice to combine the events, the people, the consortia.
I think maybe that's the reason they chose to us as partners as well.
It's a multiplier effect.
Exactly.
It's a gain for all.
Yeah. You know? And then another thing is that we open a section in the festival, and we were inviting an expert, not in films, but in a subject that we were interested in, and we asked him to choose the films in that section. So
as
a
narrator, let's say,
as a guest curator, we called
that's
guest programmer. So a person expert in a field of, let's say, labor or urban anthropology or something else, but not expert in films or choosing films or programming. We invite him and explore this idea through film. So that was an idea of how we attract people who are not familiar with our work, but also to see how they operate in our environment.
They react to film and to visual ethnographic content, actually. So
another thing, which is not related now in the festival, is that is a summer school. We thought that what we do And what we learn to do, maybe it will be interesting to see if we can apply it in a more educational environment. And so we found it with partners, not only by us, a summer school for 3 weeks, and students from all over the world learn the basics of filmmaking and editing and field work, and they try to finish a 10-minute film in Athens. So we create Athens as a place to shoot, as a palette. Yeah, exactly. So that was something that was born from our activities in the festival.
And as far I know that it's going very well. It has participants from all over the world and too many young creative people trying to do their own, have their own material created through the summer school and then maybe applying it to the Ethnofest.
Exactly. In a city that they don't know, and they learn it through the process. And also we screen the films or their project, let's say, because we don't ask them to finish a film professionally.
It's a creative process.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. What is your take on film festivals overall, and what is their cultural focus? Have you felt that you are exchanging experiences? Because beyond Ethnofest, you are participating in other festivals around the world. You have been within this field of work. Do you feel there is a cultural connection? Do you feel when you go to a film festival in Germany, in Brazil, in wherever, you get to experience some kind of their culture?
Definitely. Although we experience the audience or the visitors of the festival experience what the festival is offering. So I don't want to claim that each festival represents the culture of the city or the country. It is happening, but in the most cases it is happening, that because there is part of the identity there. Apart from my professional experiences, my PhD is also on film festivals. So I took a chance to see a film festival from the other part, from the academic and ethnographic process, research. Sorry. So I definitely can agree with that phrase. And if we can take the example that I do the research in Thessaloniki, one of the common things every person that I talk to as part of my ethnographic research related to the festival and their work there was the identity of the city was always there. Not the country, the identity of the city. And the location of the festival. The way the team is organizing activities for the guests, and also how they let the identity of the city be included in the process of the festival makes a difference. I will say an example. If you invite a lot of people in the festival but don't include the aspect of food of the city, for example, and offer them basic catering that you can find everywhere, then it's difficult to take it into them. But if you can create that combination for them and experience the city,
more complete experience around the festival,
and then you succeed to offer a part of identity that has nothing to do with cinema, has nothing to do with films, but has definitely to do with the city itself.
The Thessaloniki, if I'm not wrong, it's one of the most long-lasting festivals in Greece. It's
the biggest festival in Greece, the oldest, the biggest, the most known. If we make an hierarchy, Athens Film Festival is also very known abroad, but Thessaloniki is the oldest end of and it helps the location. I mean, Athens, because it's a megacity. It's
a capital.
It's a
So
capital.
it has the advantages of a capital.
Your effort to include your guest into the city's culture is a bit more difficult than Thessaloniki, but yet you have to decide to do it. And if you decide to do it, you can do it in Athens as well.
But Thessaloniki is currently, let's say, winning Athens in terms of productions taking place, recent Hollywood productions. So they have the studios there to film many films like The Expandables and
yes, but
productions like that.
It doesn't has to do with the festival that also.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just production. It's in terms of production.
Many places have the experience now to be included in the production, in a big production from abroad. But in terms of festivals and having guests, because we have to know that a production is a very closed system. Festival is also a closed system, but it's much more open than a production
to
Hollywood, which not only to the city but to get to know people.
Exactly.
If a big production comes to Thessaloniki or to any place and big Hollywood star comes, we probably won't be able to go if we have nothing to do with the production itself.
That's actually the case.
I don't know if I answer exactly what you mentioned, but
yes,
I think.
Yes. One other thing that we have touched already is what is the level of how much audiovisual productions actually get to visualize ethnographic characteristics through space and time. Do they become actually a kind of archive of what is happening within a place and time?
Yes. What makes there are a lot of things, elements that differentiate ethnographic filmmaking than other documentaries. Again, for me, it's a different approach, not a different genre, but this is a typical, maybe technical debate. It's not something very serious.
It's just labeling.
Yes.
The essence remains the same.
The thing that differentiates the one from others are the time the filmmaker, the researcher takes, the time spent in the field and for its subjects, and also it goes deep, if we can use that word. It goes what we can say. I'm not sure if the English term is correct now, but the research comes from below and not from above. So you cannot. We are not going to screen, or we are not going to be interested in a film about migration in Europe in a terms of journalistic approach, which is very interesting as a film and as a research.
Different approach.
But this is an approach that we are not looking at. But about a family, or about the community, or about a place or a space happening related to that, can offer us something more, something deeper, and something, let's stay with that word for a moment at least.
If I understand correctly, it's more on a micro level what we see,
exactly.
But on a macro level what we feel.
Exactly.
Watching.
The best case is to see a micro, but the film will talk to you in global. A macro level. That's the ideal result. So every year I think the program creates a mosaic of the world, a very interesting mosaic of the world, from different places, different cultures, different stories, personal, but they can take you to a more personal for them, but it can speak to you as well.
You can relate.
Yeah.
Even throughout cultures, throughout nations, throughout something relatable to most of us.
And it's a mosaic for today. I mean, it's something that we hope that we can see these films in the future, because they are good films, and that's the filming part of if the film is good It's to stay in
It's
on
not
time.
research, it's also a film. That's what
Exactly.
you were saying, because on the duality
Exactly.
of the material.
But also it speaks for now, for the present, in a much more deeper way than we expect, maybe.
What have you kept as very dear from the festivals? Are you still going to festivals? And what is your favorite part of a festival?
Yeah, I'm still going because I work in around film festival yearly, all around year, from different positions. Well, a film festival can be seen as a bubble, as a bubble of time, and that creates something for the visitor. If you work within as a bubble, because your everyday life change is not as it was before and after if you work within a festival. So it's a totally different experience if you work in a film festival or if you visit a film festival. So when I go in another film festival as a guest, then I enjoy much more the filming part of it. I mean, the cinematic part of it, the films themselves, and the people that I will meet and talk about the films that we've seen. If I work in a film festival, then I enjoy a lot this time.
The preparation
yeah.
of the...
And that the time stops for some reason and creates a different frame for me at that during that time.
I'm glad that, if I understand, you don't have so much anxiety. If you prepare it correctly, you can then enjoy your festival.
No, you have anxiety.
You always have anxiety.
If you are working on your own festival or you do something, you have anxiety. But the anxiety, if you have been prepared well, it's a very creative, at least for me, process.
At least until the moment when you say, it's okay, it's going smoothly, I'm now going to relax, have a conversation.
Depending on the person and the position, you might never say that until the end, or you can say it from the beginning. So it depending on the person.
You are also teaching at the University of the Aegean, which is actually a quite interesting academic institution, and it's quite special because it is spread out through the Aegean, on many islands of the Aegean, and your classes take place in Mytilene. Are there any local characteristics that actually affect the courses? Are you taking anything from the island as input for your courses? Do the students take something from the very environment of the location?
No and yes. No on the first part, because in Mytilene, in University of Aegean, I teach history and theory of documentary in a program built for people who can work at the same time. So it's a distant course by its by from the start. From the start. It's nothing to do with COVID or the period that we have experienced.
It wasn't forced to be remote, it was initially remote.
But, and that's why I'm going to say yes for the students, because the program make 3 times per year a week for them with and courses we made there, so we go there as but we are going for a few days. They are going there for a whole week. So I think they can include parts of the island, of the local aspects of or cultural or everyday life in their studies, because they study documentary, so they have to think something as an idea, or so many. For example, many films from them are taking place in Mytilene or are inspired by the island.
By the locals, by
the
products,
locals,
by...
exactly. So for me, I would prefer to spend more time there, but the structure of the course is not allow me to be there for a long time, so I cannot include a lot of things. Maybe some films that I can include in the teaching, or during the 2 days during the days that I teach there to think something about it. But no, for me, but yes, for them, for sure.
So that was, I'm asking because that's what we are trying to create actually through the project, through the pilot, targeting location awareness, how audiovisual productions can boost the tourism, not a sea and sun tourism experience, but something deeper, something going into the culture of a place, into the natural beauty of a place, beyond the sea and sun model of tourism we have witnessed through decades.
I should have mentioned a little bit more about the festival before the part of
We can go back to that.
of the teaching, because one crucial factor of the festival image, let's say, or success, maybe, or maybe we can find another word for that, is are the guests. And I mentioned something about the Thessaloniki example and how they related to the local products or to the identity of the city. But another aspect is the professional part. The professional guests, the guests who are coming to Thessaloniki for the film market, or for us to present a film, but also to present a masterclass, or a professor from a University of Manchester, let's say, or from Amsterdam. And so he or she will certainly meet some people, and they can take it from there, something to create afterwards, most probably related to Athens or to Greece. So that collaboration or that friendship maybe also can take this aspect of tourism, which is because a first aspect of coming to a festival is also a part of tourism. So this aspect, I think, is very, very important for the festival themselves and for us as well. And I don't want to mention summer school, because summer school is the identity of the course is to people to come from abroad and create something. So that's
In the
by
summer in
definition.
Athens, so
By definition, there
It's a
is
summer
tourism and something cultural, a cultural product. But also in the festival, it's very, very important.
and it has become a thing actually. I was seeing articles on sites like TripAdvisor referring to locations used on film. In Croatia with Game of Thrones, in Kefalonia, several places in Greece and Europe, which are mentioned as go-to places because they were actually in films, and people get to know about this place with Mamma Mia in
I think Ireland
Greek
and
islands.
Croatia have used that, and maybe and Spain have used that element in the most creative and very profitable way, having their Game of Thrones or other very popular series or films there. I don't know if we managed to have made something out of the success of the last year, because Greece have changed the last year from 2016 and the introduction of cash rebate and the incentives to
It was crucial to filmmaking,
which was a very huge, a very big change for the film industry, and still is. We are still waiting for some things to change as well. I'm not sure if I know the recent development, because we are still waiting for the last changes of ECOME and Greek Film Center, because you've mentioned that I worked there. When I worked there, it was the introduction of the incentives and ECOME. So now they are talking about to some structural changes in these two institutions, but we will see.
There are many things because all of these organizations were part of Thematic at some point. They have joined our events, our workshops, and so on. And also, some of the events in Athens, there are issues on legislation, on production permits, and where you can film and where you cannot film within Greece. So there are issues to be resolved. But having the funding is actually making some projects work, because otherwise they wouldn't without the rebate.
Yes.
So it has given a boost to the Greek audiovisual production, but we still need more technical stuff, more...
Exactly. I think there are films that been delayed. Their production has been delayed because of the lack of
workforce within the audiovisual sector. I feel we can be able to get there. We have fewer per capita technicians than Iceland, let's say. Iceland is quite an example on how many cameramen and sound engineers they have. So they are able to work on many films and series simultaneously at the same time. They can do that. We have to train more people to get there.
Yes.
Always on a sustainable model of people being able to work even after this large wave of productions. We have to find a way to smoothen that a bit.
And to maybe, I was thinking about that we have to change also the structures of how we were making films and how we learn now to make it with a big production, because there are two extremes, I think. We used to make films from nothing, and now we are, the films and the people working on these films are working on a level that Greece might not be able to offer a local production, to offer that level of payment. So maybe there is a balance to be found there.
Find a balance between, let's say, indie or documentaries or ethnographic, which are not very commercial, but very useful kind of outcomes in the film industry,
and
the more commercial, let's say, Hollywood productions happening at the same time. Because in some cases, it's the same people working on those kinds of projects, the same cameraman, the same sound engineer. So we have to figure out how to distribute all this workforce.
And to have cinemas also.
That's an issue.
Anyway.
That's an important issue, and I hope we'll get to that, because it's important to view all this material in a cinema, in a theater,
Exactly.
in this kind of format, because we are moving away from that and going to smaller in-house TVs, and that's not the format, that's not the optimal format in any case. So we have kind of covered one of my follow-ups, meaning if it's sustainable to work on indie, on documentaries, on ethnographic cinema or Hollywood. So we have to find that middle ground.
I don't know how it is sound to use on the same phrase the word Hollywood and ethnographic.
It's not.
I think it's unique, and I like very much to hear that. No, it's not. If we use the word sustainable, no, it's not. And I don't know many people who are working on ethnographic filmmaking and not doing anything else for their living. So it's not sustainable, but in my case, that I don't work in a creative position of the films, but from the festival part, from programming part, from now recently we started to produce some films. I teach. I mean, you have to do a lot of things, but if you find the balance on time, for the time you spend on each aspect, then yes, it becomes sustainable. And then you can say that I'm working on that level, because yes, of course you do other things, but more or less you are around
Yes, and
this process.
these are interconnected. They're not.
Yeah. I cannot claim that you can be a filmmaker making ethnographic films and live by that only. No, I don't have any example. You can be a professor on a university teaching visual anthropology and make a film every 3 years, and then you are
Be
a filmmaker.
successful at
On the
what you actually want to
exactly.
Do you feel that festivals like Thessaloniki, like Ethnofest, which I feel has a long way to go and is going very smoothly within the years to come, can festivals actually change the visibility of a country? Because Athens Film Festival has come a long way and has become much more popular within the last years. It's inviting directors, it's inviting actors in round tables. Can that have an effect on how all these people view a country, or is it just red carpet?
No, it can definitely can. In what extent, maybe is the question. The answer is different for each festival, and definitely change. I don't see the festival representatives of the cities themselves as a whole, but for the cinema world and what this world represents, of course it changes. Now, if someone asks, is that part of the world big enough to make a difference? Maybe that's an interesting question, and I would like to say it is, but every year I don't know how big is that part of the audience. But the only thing that I can say, and that's a fact from my research also, but also from more recent ones, is that even if we see a decline of the tickets in cinemas, or people going to the cinema less and less, film festivals have never in history of their history have never experienced a decline for them. We can, of course, we have examples.
Lining,
we have examples of some festivals who couldn't support themselves or be sustainable for them financially and shut down. But
that's a different case.
We saw another one coming up after that.
The audience of the festival was there to attend another festival.
Exactly.
Actually, so.
As I see it from, let's take the two biggest festival in Greece, Thessaloniki and Athens Film Festival. They are always on the same level, even not saying
get tickets. It's
not saying much more people every year.
I have the same problem with the Athens Film Festival.
Yeah, to find tickets.
You can find tickets, and it's very optimistic. It's great to see that people are attending festival because
it's a festival is something more than going to
the cinema.
It is part of their identity because they have to go. You have to go to the cinema, and for them, cinema is like a very sacred place. But you feel, if you are a visitor on a festival, you feel differently. It's not the same way to. Festival is the world itself. It's a celebration. So
if you go to the very essence of the word,
yes,
festivity.
So festivity. So. I don't know how the near future, what the near future will bring us, but I don't see I think festivals make a difference. Sorry for my mistakes now. Make a difference for the city and for the visitors, for the audience, and therefore for the guests from abroad.
Also, what I like about especially Athens Film Festival is that it's spread across smaller cinemas, smaller theaters. It's sometimes taking place in very historic cinemas of the city. So it's taking
You
you
mean
to
opening nights and the festival of opening nights, which is running also during the summer open air film festival.
also the open air film festival, which takes you to Monastiraki, to
Exactly.
Thysio, to open air locations which are not cinemas. They can be
This is another
anything.
This is a very good example.
Yes.
It is operated by the same team of Athens Film Festival. I used to work there, so I was there also from when this idea was
With these
initiated.
inflatable screens.
Exactly. Was this when this idea was initiated? I was working there, and it is still very very successful idea and event. And this experience to see with other people cinema it is not going to be replaced
By any kind of
by any
commercial.
kind. Yeah. So festivals are something that we can relate. We can invest, let's say, in a different way now. We have to be adapted in recent changes or recent needs for people, what they are going to see, how they are going to see. Of course, you cannot expect to see a film in the same way with I don't know, like 15
How many
years
inches
ago. Yeah. But,
of TV you have in your house.
Exactly.
It's not the same, and it's never going to be the same. And it also has to do with the kind of films projected in festivals.
Which
You
are
get to
not
see films that you don't have the chance to see.
Exactly. They are not easily reachable, accessible.
You can find them on DVDs
Exactly.
online, or it's very difficult
At
to
least
find
a very
them.
big percentage of the program.
Yes, and I have enjoyed films that I wouldn't have the chance to view somewhere else. Returning back to Ethnofest to go towards the end, what is next for Ethnofest? Do you have a call? Will you have a call within the next few months for films, for activities?
Yes, our call comes out every year during March, and ends this year. Will end by the end of the summer. We'll separate it. We will separate the call into different deadlines for early
summer
birds.
school and
For early birds and regular deadlines for people for application. No, for summer school is something different. And we are now starting, because it's early for us. It's the quietest period for us.
Before the storm, or just quiet?
Just quiet before the summer. And as we are waiting for the submissions, we are thinking about the other parts of the program. Guests, thematic, special screenings.
The framework.
The general framework, etc.
Is there a theme this year? Are you going to have a theme? I think it was the cats last year. I remember something like that.
The cat was the poster because of the number of 13th. It was not part of the program, but it was part of the number, because it was the 13th edition, and we played with
the jinx, let's say,
that the black cat is, and the 13th for Greece is bad luck. Superstitions. We played with the word superstition, so we wanted to be in contrast with the superstition. So we say, open your mind.
You had good luck, I guess.
Yes,
eventually.
And, it was a very good festival. A very, very, very good festival. So no, till now we don't know what we'll focus on.
So, moving towards the end of our discussion, how do you see the future for festivals, and more specifically for Ethnofest, both realistically as a prediction for the next, let's say, 2-5 years, and what do you wish to see as a daydream? What would the optimal be for you?
Yeah, that's a difficult question, especially the first one. Ethnofest and festival like Ethnofest, that their budget are not secured for many years, and they are waiting every year an institution or a public sector or something, a sponsor to see in what extent they can operate. They are difficult. It is very difficult to see themselves after 2 years. Specifically for us, we are operating in that way. We know that this year and the next one we will be able to make the festival. We don't know in what extent, how many guests we can invite, how many films we can have in our program, etc., etc. But we know that we will be there, and so that's our prediction for us. I think we are in a transitional period. At least Ethnofest it is. I don't know if everybody feels like the same way. So after that, we will know more how we can be in the future. For example, for us, I think 15, 16 years for me to be in that position of director, it's more or less enough. And maybe even Ethnofest want to be there. Maybe a new voice, a younger voice can be.
It can evolve to something else, have a voice of its own,
and start a new thing, or within the same structure, a new period of Ethnofest. So ideally for me, Ethnofest will have a new team after 2-3 years, and I would like to see Ethnofest be in Athens for the next 10-15 years, and me there as a guest.
Enjoying the festival without the anxiety.
Exactly. And for the festival, because I believe in very strongly in that form of cultural intervention, I think that's another word that we forgot to mention about festivals.
And it's crucial.
It is a cultural intervention. It is very important. So we are. I'm not at all pessimistic that they are not going to be there. In what exactly form we will see. I think the big festivals, we will be there. They will be there. We have a lot of festivals in Greece. I have to admit that. So we might see some of them not too.
Some merges.
Exactly. That's another thing that we have to explore.
Collaboration. And
Ethnofest has been in touch with other festivals to see if we can create something new. Exactly. So ideally less, maybe a smaller number of festivals, but more dynamic and
larger audiences.
It's sustainable. Sustainability, not only from the environmental part of it, but also from the financial part of it.
Viable. Being viable, it's not taken for granted.
It is something beautiful. It is something creative. It is something useful from all parts of economic circle and cultural circle, and for many parts of our cultural life. So ideally, I want to see a more dynamic position for the festival.
Hopefully. Is there an archive? Is there a web page to know more about Ethnofest and its archive of films so far?
Yes, ethnofest.gr is our website. There someone can see all our activities, not only the festival, our educational activities,
the summer school.
For example, summer school. Our database. Our database is one of the few in Greece. It contains the films that we have screened, not only the festival, but in other events as well. But you can search them by categories and not only by year and names, but also by subjects.
Several metadata.
And you can search the title by subject. So as someone who is interested for a subject like health or migration or something similar, they can search the films related to that. We don't know the rights, of course, as every festival. We own for a few titles the rights, so we cannot screen them without permission. But it is very useful tool for any researcher or any other film lover or goer, film festival goer, or just cinephile.
Great. It's been a pleasure having you here. I hope we can collaborate with all the thematic partners and maybe have some joint activities in a follow-up project with your Erasmus project, and maybe become part of a consortium in the near future. Glad to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.